The night was heavy with silence, but inside me, a storm screamed. His words, sharp and cruel, echoed louder than thunder, spoken not to me, but against me. For her. I stood frozen, shattered in pieces, watching the man I once called mine choose another, leaving my soul bleeding quietly. You're watching Unseen Romance, where love meets truth and hearts speak without masks. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts in the comments. We cherish your presence here. Emily's world was simple. She believed love wasn't measured in gifts, but in gestures, the way Daniel's hand always found hers, the way his laughter lit up their evenings. Together they once felt unstoppable, as if nothing could tear their bond apart. Daniel had been her safe place, her confidant, her dream. Their promises whispered under starlight felt eternal. But, slowly, the eternal began to fade. His hunger for more success, more validation, grew louder than the vows they once held sacred. At first, Emily dismissed it as a phase. She told herself love this deep could weather anything. But the silences stretched longer, the late nights multiplied, and his eyes, those eyes that once softened only for her, began to wander elsewhere. Love rarely dies with a loud bang. Sometimes it slips away in quiet steps. And Emily could feel it slipping, piece by piece, like sand escaping through her fingers. The truth revealed itself one evening. Emily had dressed in the gown Daniel once said made her look like home. She had hoped, perhaps foolishly, that the old Daniel would return, if only for a night. But then Sophie walked in, bold, magnetic, demanding attention with every glance. And Daniel's eyes lit up, not for his wife, but for the woman beside her. The cruelest moment came when a guest praised Emily's gentle spirit. Daniel chuckled, shaking his head. Gentle? That's just another word for boring. Sophie knows how to live. The words echoed louder than the music. Laughter erupted around her, but for Emily, time stood still. Betrayal is sharpest when it's public, when love itself is mocked before strangers. In that instant, Emily wasn't just forgotten, she was erased. She wanted to ask why, to demand answers. But she didn't. Her silence was heavier than any scream, because sometimes dignity is the only weapon left when love humiliates you. Sophie was the fire Daniel thought he needed. Bold, fearless, intoxicating. She promised him passion without limits, and blinded by desire, he believed he had found something greater than love. Emily didn't beg. She didn't fight. Her silence became her strength. She wept in private, rebuilt herself in whispers, and carried her dignity like armor. She knew Sophie wasn't love. Sophie was hunger. And hunger never stays satisfied. What once felt thrilling soon turned toxic. Sophie demanded more attention, more money, more sacrifice. Arguments replaced laughter. Complaints replaced passion. Daniel, who had mocked Emily's quiet love, now found himself suffocating in Sophie's fire. Meanwhile, Emily was learning to breathe again. She discovered herself in books, in friendships, in long walks where no shadow of Daniel followed her. She began to realize the truth. Love can abandon you, but self-love can save you. When Sophie finally walked away, Daniel's world collapsed. Alone, stripped of illusions, he was left with the one thing he had run from: himself. Nights dragged into endless silence. Every memory of Emily returned, sharper, clearer. Her patience, her quiet laughter, the way she forgave him again and again. And then came the memory he couldn't escape. The night he humiliated her. The night he shattered not just her heart, but her dignity. That single choice haunted him more than Sophie's betrayal ever could. Desperate, he reached out, calls unanswered, messages left unseen. He even stood outside Emily's door, waiting, hoping, and when she finally opened it, her eyes told him what words never could. She had already chosen herself. Regret is a cruel companion. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And for Daniel, it whispered every night, reminding him that some mistakes don't come with second chances. Daniel pleaded for forgiveness, but Emily had found a strength beyond his reach. With a calm voice that carried the weight of her healing, she said, "Some wounds heal, Daniel, but some loves cannot be reborn. You chose once, and I learned to choose myself." She didn't walk away in anger. She walked away in peace. For Emily, closure wasn't about revenge. It was about reclaiming her worth. She carried her scar not as shame, but as proof of survival. Daniel, however, carried regret like a prison. Every room felt emptier, every night colder. Sophie's name vanished, but Emily's lingered, on his lips, in his dreams, in his regrets. Love didn't destroy Emily. It rebuilt her. And in the end, that was her victory. She lost him, but she found herself. He humiliated her, but regret consumed him forever. Some stories don't end with togetherness, but with lessons carved into the heart. This was one of them. Thank you for staying with Unseen Romance. Subscribe for more untold love stories and wait for our next tale, where passion hides its darkest secret.